Before the Callisto Protocol was released, there was a lot of excitement surrounding it. For me, it's always thrilling when a new AAA survival horror game is announced that isn't Resident Evil. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore the Resident Evil franchise, but seeing something new and creative feels like a breath of fresh air. With Glenn Schofield, the creator of Dead Space, leading the project, there was a sense of anticipation, like, could this be a reimagining of Dead Space in some form? Unfortunately, the hype quickly faded once people started playing the game. For many, the Callisto Protocol didn't live up to its expectations and fell short compared to Glenn and his team's previous work. However, I feel like I'm one of the outliers. I enjoyed it. In fact, I've played through it 3 times and still plan to play it again to clean up some remaining achievements. I even have a playthrough on this channel if anybody's interested. With that in mind, I wanted to discuss a few things I liked most about the game and why I enjoyed it as much as I did, but I also want to acknowledge some of its faults. So, without further ado, here is In Defense of the Callisto Protocol.
Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Atmosphere is a crucial element in game design, yet it's often challenging to perfect. Many games struggle with achieving the right ambiance, whether due to inadequate set pieces or a lack of environmental coherence. However, the Callisto Protocol excels in creating an immersive atmosphere. As an aficionado of horror sci-fi, I find every environment in the game to be rich in atmospheric detail. For example, the desolate ships and lifeless snowy guard sites evoke a sense of isolation reminiscent of the film The Thing. Walking through the snow while a storm rages on around you enhances the feeling of being in a harsh, uncaring world. These elements, among many others, contribute to the game's atmospheric success. Even smaller details such as the meticulous sound design, the clicks and pops of weapon switches, and the eerie echoes of footsteps in empty corridors bring the game to life. The Callisto Protocol effectively makes players feel stranded in a space prison, fighting for survival with an uncertain outcome, particularly during the first playthrough. I hope this brief description conveys my appreciation for the atmosphere in the Callisto Protocol, and I look forward to discussing other aspects of the game that I believe were executed well.
Think I got time for this shit?
Combat is a challenging aspect to master in any game, and the Callisto Protocol has garnered particularly mixed opinions in this regard. The game follows the standard third-person, over-the-shoulder survival horror shooter format, which, while familiar, does not significantly innovate upon the formula. It's somewhat comparable to playing the Resident Evil 4 remake or Alan Wake 2 in terms of overall feel, though it's worth noting that the combat mechanics in those titles are far more polished. A game doesn't need to reinvent the wheel to be considered good. While the dodging mechanics in the Callisto Protocol may seem unconventional initially, they become more intuitive with practice. In particular, they work well in conjunction with melee combat, successfully timing dodges to land powerful blows on enemies or even dismember them adds a satisfying layer to the combat experience despite the potential for repetition once it's mastered. While the combat mechanics are reasonably well executed, there are other areas that could benefit from further refinement.
How the fuck did you get in here?
As much as I'd like to defend the story of the Callisto Protocol, it proves challenging. The narrative revolves around a brief journey of wrongful imprisonment and the attempt to escape the horrors of a deteriorating space prison. While the premise of uncovering the chaos is intriguing, it doesn't quite captivate like its spiritual predecessor, Dead Space. The character development is lacking as the approximately 10-hour runtime doesn't allow for much depth. Just as you start to connect with the characters, they are either killed off or the credits roll. Additionally, the main story ends with a cliffhanger requiring the purchase of the DLC to see the conclusion, which feels somewhat unfair. Despite having interesting and mind-bending elements, the story struggles to fully engage the audience. Unfortunately, I'm not alone in feeling this way. The Callisto Protocol received mixed reviews for its story, with some praising its atmospheric setting and intriguing plot, while others felt it fell short of expectations, especially when compared to Glenn Schofield's previous work. Critics noted that the game's narrative had potential, but was hindered by execution issues. The Final Transmission DLC faced controversy due to its ending, which many fans had found disappointing. The DLC's conclusion was seen as a letdown and contributed to the perception that the game lacked a satisfying resolution. The Callisto Protocol is not without its flaws, but then again, few games are. It's important to note that if you appreciate survival horror, stunning visuals, and engaging combat, then Callisto is worth your time. Despite its imperfections, I believe it merits a playthrough, especially if you can purchase the game and its DLC bundled together during a sale. It's unfortunate that it didn't achieve the commercial success of Glenn Schofield's previous work, but I am grateful that it exists. I deeply appreciate when developers are given the freedom to express their creative visions, even if the result doesn't have widespread appeal. It's gratifying to see the game that resonates with dedicated audiences like myself and others within the genre. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my thoughts on the Callisto Protocol. I'm experimenting with different video formats, and this is one of them. If you enjoyed it or have any suggestions for improvement, or simply want to discuss anything related to Callisto Protocol or beyond, please leave a comment down below. Your feedback is always appreciated. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.